Okay, let's talk about something we've all seen, probably 1,000 times, the humble hot dog cart. It just seems like the simplest business you could possibly run on a street corner, right? Well, what we're about to find out is that it's actually this incredible marvel of hidden engineering and really strict safety rules. Seriously, you'll never look at one the same way again.
I mean, you can picture it right now, can't you? You see the steam rising up, you can smell the onions grilling. It's just the absolute picture of a quick, simple, no-fuss lunch.
But here's a wild thought. What if I told you that the systems and the daily checks needed to run that little cart safely are, in a lot of ways, way more involved than what you do for your car? I know it sounds kind of crazy, but stick with me because it's absolutely true. To really get a handle on it, think about this quote. The level of care required isn't like you're just firing up a backyard grill. Nope, it's much closer to a pilot running through a pre-flight checklist. Now that's a whole different level of seriousness, and it kind of hints at how high the stakes really are.
And believe me, those stakes are very, very real. A cart is constantly vibrating as it's pulled down the road, it's dealing with huge temperature changes, and that means things can go wrong fast. This isn't just theory. A tragic food truck explosion back in 2014 in Philadelphia serves as this horrifying reminder of what can happen when these systems aren't managed with just extreme, constant care.
So let's dive into one of the biggest risks, and it's one you can't even see, the propane gas system. This is where we learn real quick that what you can't see can definitely hurt you.
Okay, so if I asked you when you should replace a propane hose, what would you say? Probably when it looks old, right? You see a crack, it's starting to look frayed, you swap it out. That's just common sense. Well, in this business, that common sense approach is flat out wrong. There is a super strict, non-negotiable rule. Propane hoses and their regulators have a mandatory retirement after 5 years. It doesn't matter what they look like. A hose could look perfectly brand new on the outside, and it still has to be replaced.
And the reason for this is a concept that engineers call invisible failure. See, all that vibration from the road, the constant pressure changes inside, the sun beating down on it, all of that stuff breaks down the inside of the hose over time. The failure happens from the inside out, so there are 0 warning signs until it's too late. You don't wait for a problem, you have to get ahead of it.
Which, naturally, leads to a pretty important question. If the parts can fail without you seeing it, and the fittings can get loosened by just driving down the street, how on earth do you find a gas leak you can't see or even smell?
You might be expecting some, high-tech electronic sensor, but the actual solution is just beautifully simple. It's the daily soap bubble test. You literally just brush soapy water on every single connection point. If you see bubbles start to grow, you've got a leak. It's this incredibly low-tech but totally foolproof way to stop a disaster before it starts.
All right, let's switch gears from invisible gases to sanitation, because this theme of hidden precision just keeps going. And just like with the hoses, what seems like common sense can actually get you in a whole lot of trouble. Most of us are taught that when you're cleaning, more is better. A little extra bleach in the water, that's got to be safer, right? Extra clean. Well, on a hot dog cart, that's not just wrong, it's actually a health code violation. This job requires the precision of a chemist.
The sanitizing solution has to be in this perfect little Goldilocks zone, somewhere between 50 and 100 parts per million. To put that in perspective, that's about 2 little teaspoons of bleach for a whole gallon of water. And they can't just guess. They have to use chemical test strips every single day to prove the mixture is just right.
And here is the part that just blows my mind. If the solution is too strong, that surface is now legally considered contaminated. It's a chemical hazard. You actually have to rinse it all off with fresh water and start the whole process over again. It's a world where precision is way more important than power.
All right, next up, let's talk about the pure mechanics of the cart. This is where we see how a really simple, almost boring maintenance task is directly connected to keeping the public safe.
It all starts with something you've probably never even thought about. A little bit of dust and grease building up on the refrigeration unit's condenser coils. And in an environment with road dust and greasy air from cooking, this happens incredibly fast.
So what, right? Well, those coils are designed to release heat. And when they get clogged up, they can't. This makes the whole system's compressor work harder and harder and harder until it just overheats and dies. And a dead compressor means the refrigerator stops working. It can't keep the food at a safe temperature anymore. So yeah, a little bit of dust can directly lead to spoiled food and a potential public health crisis. It's why pros recommend getting those coils professionally cleaned every 30 days.
And for carts in colder places, the season ends with a process called winterization. They have to drain every last drop of water out of the system, and then they pump a special food-safe antifreeze all the way through it. And the job's not done until they open the taps and the liquid coming out is bright pink. This is what keeps the pipes from freezing and bursting over the winter.
So when you start to put all these little pieces together, you begin to see this whole hidden framework of science and safety that makes the super simple business even possible.
Think about it. You've got the diligence of a pilot, the foresight of an engineer worrying about invisible failures, the precision of a chemist mixing solutions, and the proactive skills of a mechanic. That is the hidden world holding up every single hot dog cart.
And of course, the amazing part is that all this complexity, all this expertise is completely and totally invisible to us when we're just standing there in line waiting for our lunch. We just see that simple, classic picture that we started with.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other simple things that we see every day are actually being held up by this deep, unseen world of complexity? It's a pretty fascinating question, and I bet once you start looking for it, you'll start seeing it everywhere.